Since we explored exponential curves a little bit more, I wanted to explore the whole concept of no relation just a little bit more, because it's easy to dismiss no relation. Remember, it was way back here. No correlation, right? It's easy to dismiss that as meaning that there's nothing going on, like IQ and height, which I know was a joke I made before, but let's look at some really important data. So this is the income per person, GDP per capita, and this is adults with HIV, the percentage of adults live with HIV. Then again, this is from gapminder.com. If you're interested, you can click on the link and go to it. Oops, hold on. There we are. This is Gapminder online. So you're able to see, for example, this country over here is Zimbabwe. This is South Africa. Way down here is the US. Over there is Russia. That big kind of blue one, that light blue one, that's India, and so on. All right, so let me go back. So here on Gapminder, I'm asking what is the explanatory variable and what's the response variable. So in this case, the explanatory variable is the income per person, and that's GDP per capita. Capita means head, like caput is your head in Latin. So it takes the amount of stuff your country produces in dollars and divides by how many people there are in that country. That's GDP. It's not the best measurement in the world, but it's kind of all we have. And this is the adults with HIV as a percentage of your population. The percent of adults age 15 to 49 that have HIV. All right, so we're supposed to label the axes as logarithmic or linear. So look at the axes for a second. So notice the vertical axis here, 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on. That must be linear. And this one, 1,000, 2,000, 4,000 is getting multiplied. That's logarithmic. Let me type those in. Hold on one second. All right, so I got those labels in there, log and linear. All right, is the use of logarithmic scale appropriate for this data? Well, yeah, I mean, we have a lot of cramming down here, but there's kind of nothing you can do about it because that's just the way HIV is in the world, that most countries don't have a huge percentage that are living with HIV, but there are some countries that do. So there's quite a spread. I mean, having a country that has 26% of its population living with HIV when you have countries that are almost zero, that's quite a difference. Okay, so yes, because there is a wide spread, although they didn't actually do it with the HIV status, I should say. I'm sorry. That was linear. It's this guy right down here. Income has a wide spread. There's a wide spread to income level. Can you imagine if this had all been crammed down there? Matter of fact, I can show you what it would look like. Here. So if I change this just for the fun of it to linear, that's what the graph looks like. I mean, can you believe how terrible that is? It just packs all of this in over here. You can't really get a good look at it at all. So if you spread it out logarithmically, that at least gives you some sense of these countries, and you're able to kind of get at the differences between them. I mean, the linear scale is just terrible because so many of these countries that have HIV, large HIV populations, so many of them are in this low income bracket. Not surprisingly, because there's kind of a relationship there. All right, so there's a wide spread to income level. If we used linear for the income level, all the countries less than $4,000, right? Very poor countries. I mean, your average GDP is $4,000 a year. So all the countries less than $4,000 would all be crammed together. It would be a terrible graph, as you saw. All right. Moving on. So what do the colors reveal? And this is one of the fabulous things. Gapminder is just one of the most awesome things ever. So the colors reveal, as you can see, different areas. So if you go over here, see how now look, see the blinking? Down here, watch. These will blink. So if I let my mouse, there's America, North and South. There's Europe and Central Asia in the orange. There's the Middle East and North Africa there in the green, right? East Asia and Pacific, and Sub-Saharan Africa, excuse me. South Africa is a country. As a matter of fact, South Africa is that country right there. Okay? So the colors reveal geographic region. Okay. All right. Are all the dots the same size? Absolutely not. Nope. All right, now what do they reveal? Well, let me go back and show you. If you go over here and you let your mouse kind of hang, it shows you that a circle this big is around 5.6 million. And then if you let your mouse sit on top of it, it tells you what it is. It's the total number of people in all ages that are estimated to be living with HIV in that area. So including those without symptoms, those that are sick with AIDS, and those that are healthy due to HIV treatments. So for example, let me look at South Africa for a second. So when I let my mouse hover here, you can see over on the left something glows, down here something glows, and then over here something glows. So look. So in the bottom left, far left, it says 18. So it's 18% of people in South Africa live with HIV, but that amounts to 5.6 million people in that country. Right? It's the largest dot by far. And they have an income of 9.1 or 9,138, which is not actually too bad. Okay. Let's see. Over here, Burundi only has 180,000 people living with HIV, and that's only 3.3% of their population. Even though they're a very poor country, they don't have a ton of people with HIV. Right? The U.S., for example, has 1.2 million people living with HIV. Right? That's a lot, right? But it's not a very big percentage of our population. We have a large population, so that's only 0.6% of the population. Okay? So the dots, the larger the dot, oh, here, how about this? The size of the dot represents how many people are living with HIV in the country, total. And that means AIDS, HIV but not symptomatic, right? Not showing symptoms yet. Symptomatic, HIV positive, but under control with meds, etc. etc. Okay? All right, describe the relationship that appears to exist. Well, it appears to be no relation, right? Because you've got countries all over the place, right? So you look at it and it's sort of our definition of no relation. There's points kind of all over the place, right? You don't see like a pattern. You don't see like a line shape or anything. Let me go back. No, I should say no statistical relation, right? Oh, well, I'm having problems finding the right screen. All right, no relation, but that doesn't mean that the graph doesn't reveal. How about this? No discernible linear relation. That doesn't mean that the graph isn't showing us a whole lot. We can see that most countries in the world have a handle on their HIV populations, right? Or HIV infection rates, let's put it that way. HIV infection rates, for whatever reason. So let me go back to the graph here. So you can see you've got wealthy countries over here, you've got poor countries over here, and a lot of them are in this bottom part. India is not a very wealthy country, but it only has 0.3% of its population with HIV. Of course, that turns out to be 2.4 million people. That's a lot, right, of people. Over here, Myanmar has 240,000 and so on. Somalia doesn't have that many and so on. So some countries don't have a lot. That said, are these always perfectly reported? No. Some countries like to deny that they have HIV at all or that HIV is a problem, but still, a lot of these countries are in the low levels. But there are some, and notice where they are, right? All of these countries, every last one of them, with the exception of Djibouti and Haiti. Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. Those countries have higher rates, right? Why? They're all in Sub-Saharan Africa, every last one of them, right? All these blue dots. So we can see that there's a lot going on, right? The big exception is Sub-Saharan Africa. Oh, I'm not spelling that right. Now, if you go and watch, Hans Rosling is the name of the guy that thought of doing this. He's a fabulous speaker. He spoke at TED many times, TED Talks. So if you go see one of his TED Talks, he talks about this data a bit more and how these countries, countries like South Africa are actually very diverse, with some regions being even higher than these numbers and some regions being lower than these numbers. It depends a lot on where you live and what your economic status is in those countries. So these are not, it's not like if you go to South Africa, every region you go to, 18% of them have HIV. It's not quite like that. It's more varied than that. Okay. But you can watch his videos for that. All right. So what we want to move on from there is that since we just saw that no relation doesn't necessarily mean nothing's going on. That's just what I wanted to bring out here, right? Just because you don't see a stats relation doesn't mean that there isn't a relation. There's things going on. People are spending their lives studying what's going on in that graph and trying to figure out how to bring down HIV rates in Sub-Saharan Africa. Okay, now moving on to other stats topics. What we want to know is what kind of linear relation can we see? So we are interested in, can we see if it's positive or negative? And can we see if it's perfect, strong, moderate, or weak? So you look at these graphs and you figure out which ones you think are perfect and what kind of perfect they are. All right, give me a second. I got to type. All right, let's see if your answers agree with mine. So I put weak negative up here for this one. I put strong negative for that one. Could be moderate. I'm not really sure. This one's perfect negative right here. This one's strong positive. That's definitely strong. Here we go. And then this one's moderate positive. You can see it's kind of increasing. And this one's perfect positive. So let's talk about this one up at the top right again. So you might not have matched mine, and that's okay. So one of the problems that we're going to run into is, we want to know if it's positive or negative. Now you can tell if it's negative if it goes down from left to right, if it would have a negative slope. And if it goes up, like these bottom three, that's positive, okay? But we want to know the strength a little bit better than just kind of guessing at it. I mean, I want a way to know if that's strong or if it's moderate. I mean, I'm a math person. I want an answer. So the problem we have, oops, hold on, let me pause this for a second. There we go. We want to know whether we're math people. We want to know whether that relationship is strong or moderate, not just guess at it by looking at the graph. I want a number. I'm a math person. I want a number that will tell me whether it was strong or moderate. And that's what we're going to get next time. I'm going to teach you about Pearson's product moment correlation coefficient, i.e. the linear correlation coefficient. That's what we're going to talk about next time. All right, I will see you then. Be all excited because you're getting a number soon.